Good morning. I'm Betsy Zyko. I'm with the Performing Arts team at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. And I'm so happy to welcome you today to the Paleo Puppet Meet and Greet. Now, it may look like I'm at the museum, but that's my virtual background. I'm actually at home. You might even hear a dog bark sometime in the next 30 minutes while we're here together. I'm here to get us settled in and to introduce you to the team. And who else is here today? Let's take a look. So this is the Performing Arts team. So even though you'll be seeing me and John and Eli and the puppet, which you can see right now, this is who else is here. We've got people in the chat taking your questions. We love to have your questions. So if you'd like to know how to do that, we're going to show you a slide. Now, if you're on an iPad or a tablet, you'll see the chat function in the upper right corner. If you're on a computer, Chromebook, or even a phone, you will see the chat box in the lower middle section of the screen. And we're going to try to get to as many questions as we can today. I assure you, we love your questions. But if for some reason we don't get to your question today, or if you're watching on YouTube where children's programming doesn't have an interactive function, guess what you can do? You can write it down and you can contact us. We love getting letters from you and emails. We love fan art too. So today, while you're watching this program, if you're inspired to tell us what you learned, tell us what you know, write a question and contact us. Ask your teacher how to do that. And we'll also share information at the end of the program so you can do that as well. So what I want to do now is introduce you to the host of today's program, John Williams. Hi, John.
Hello. Thanks for that intro, Betsy. Hello, everyone. Welcome. If you're used to seeing your class, unfortunately, that's not going to happen today. You're just seeing this face and the puppet's face, sometimes Betsy's wonderful face. We're just glad you're here. There's a lot of you. There's over 200 of you right now. So we're going to try and answer your questions eventually. We probably won't be able to get to all of them. But we're going to show you a little bit about what we do with puppets at the museum and here over Zoom, and then hopefully answer your questions about why we do what we do and how we do what you do. So you have questions about puppetry or how we became puppeteers and some dino questions and such too. Pop those in the chat and we are going to get started. So let me introduce our puppet pal right here. This is Sauropodomorph A. Here's a vocab slide so you know how to spell that word. It's a little bit of a mouthful for me, at least. It's not like a super great name, at least not the sound of it to me. Part of the reason being is that the fossils that this puppet is based on were so recently discovered that the scientists haven't actually gotten around to naming the species proper yet. There's a lot of work that goes in and comparing it to other fossils to really differentiate it and decide on a new name and all those types of things. It's beyond my pay grade of how they do that. So if we don't have a name for this species, I think what I would like to do is try and come up with a name just for this individual puppet right now that Sauropodomorph A is based on. So if you want to suggest a name, please type that into the chat that we can call it just for today. When Betsy sees something good, she's going to give me some examples of what we're seeing. And
I'm seeing some names come in right now. We've got Chad and Manny. We've got Cilia Taurus, Mr. Bubbles.
Okay. Now, just keep in mind, it could be male or female. It can be a silly name. I like making up names and stuff.
Bizarre.
These are great.
Mr. Cheese.
Mr. Cheese. Okay.
Rufus.
I'm gonna pull a wild card here and sort of like do an amalgam amalgamation of a combination of my own things. I'm going to call this Madam Cheese. So Sauropodomorph A will now be known as Madam Cheese. To me, if you want to call this puppet something else where you are, no worries, have fun with that. But for the rest of the time, I'm going to talk to our puppet pal as Madam Cheese. All right, so I mentioned that Madam Cheese here, the fossils that Madam Cheese is based on, were recently discovered. And so I wanted to take a poll real quick to see what you might guess, or where you might guess this dinosaur's fossils were discovered, on what continent. Keep in mind, there are dino excavations happening on every single continent on the planet right now, all 7 continents. So there's no consequences to this. This isn't part of your grade. It's just a fun little thing. So pop in your guesses there of what continent you think the fossils were discovered on. Some dinosaurs, their fossils are on multiple continents. Some dinosaurs are only on one continent. Like, for example, T-Rex. If you're looking for a specific T-Rex fossil, that's only going to be found in North America. Other dinosaurs are on multiple continents, singular continents. So go ahead and fill out the poll and we will see what you see. I wonder, Madam Cheese, if you had a long journey to get to Los Angeles, or if you're local. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can give you a little bit of a hint too, although I will say it is a misleading hint. We chose the color green for Madam Cheese, not because we know that Madam Cheese's skin was green, but because we thought it would reflect the environment that Madam Cheese was living in at the time of the late Jurassic, about 190 million years ago. A lot of things can change in 190 million years. So the continent where we found Madam Cheese might not be the same, might not look the same as it does now. So Betsy, go ahead and let me know when we've got our results. Okay, most of you say North America, a lot for South America, and a few scattered ones for all the rest of those continents. Okay, so I think it's time for the big reveal. I think we can take the poll away. So it turns out that the fossils that Madam Cheese is based on came from the continent of Antarctica. That's right, Antarctica. That snowy, icy, penguin-filled landscape. You might be wondering, what? Antarctica? You said it was from a green place. What are you talking about? Why are you lying to us? I don't trust the world anymore. I know, it's crazy. So I was certainly surprised to find out that there were fossil digs going on in Antarctica, but also, technically speaking, there are still dinosaurs today living in Antarctica. I mentioned them earlier. They are penguins. Paleontologists classify all birds living today as modern theropod dinosaurs. So yeah, we got a picture of some Antarctic penguins, Antarctic dinosaurs there. This puppet was made in conjunction with an Antarctic dinosaurs exhibit that we had about a year and a half, 2 years ago at the Natural History Museum. I kind of jumped the order of the slides. So if we can go back to that first picture where you see, this is a distant picture of the base camp where all the excavation team lives when they go down to Antarctica to excavate the fossils they find there. But that's just where they live. This isn't where they excavate actually. In order to get to where they are digging up those bones, they have to take a helicopter to the mountains. You'll see the mountains there, they're not so icy, it's just the rocks. That is because of climate change. So within short span of human time, climate change has been having that ice down there melt away, and that's causing a lot of problems for the whole world. One slight silver lining is that it does reveal the mountains underneath, and those fossils are right there. And so our excavation team goes into the mountains there, and they find these fossils in the rocks right there. So they're not digging them up out of ice. Now, Antarctica was not the icy tundra that we think of today. Back 190 million years ago when Madam Cheese was roaming the earth. They have found fossil evidence of different trees and plants that show a green, lush landscape, maybe kind of swampy. There are trees that change with the seasons, all kinds of things like that. And so this is a picture from that Antarctic dinosaurs exhibit. So we've got another example of what a sauropodomorph A might have looked like. And you can see all the leafy greens around and all those types of things like that. So the reason being, Antarctica was not in the same place on the planet that it is today. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the idea of Pangea. That's when all of Earth's continents were all smushed together as one. And then slowly over time, those continents slowly moved apart from one another to where they are today. And where they were 190 million years ago, Antarctica was a little bit further north. And so it wasn't exactly hot, but it was certainly warmer than it is today. So that's our little sort of presentation, as we call it. I'm going to take some time now to introduce you to the puppeteer bringing Madam Cheese to life. And as I do this and get our camera set up, I think, Betsy, it'd be nice if we could call out some of the schools in attendance today. Say hello before we start doing our Q&A section here.
So today, John, we have almost 500 students from 11 different schools. And we have also a student who's in Colorado now, a paleo enthusiast who wanted to visit some museums and learn about digs happening there. We have schools, Davalon Drive, Arroyo, Webley Way, Sarah Coughlin, Eastman Avenue, Rio Vista, Iliad, in Yorba Belinda. We have Octolio, sorry about that, Garfield Elementary, Stagg Street, Lake Balboa, and one of the homeschoolers in Yuba City. And if I mispronounce the name of your school, you correct me.
Well, welcome everyone. Glad you could be here. This is Eli Presser. We are co-workers. We're also sheltering in place because we are also roommates. That's why we're not wearing masks right now. So
hey everyone, how are you doing?
Yeah,
we're just here to answer any questions you have about the puppet and the show.
Yeah, so Betsy, lay it on us if you see some good questions. We might be able to catch a few as we see the chat scrolling by as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about how do you become a paleontologist and how did the dinosaurs die?
Okay. To become a paleontologist, first off, if you want to be, it depends on what type of paleontology. There's lots of different ways, but if you just want to work with dinosaur fossils, there are a lot of ways into that. You can study geology, or you can study chemistry. You can study lots of different sciences, but also there's lots of artists involved as well. We are puppeteers. We don't have a background in science per se. We get to talk to the paleontologists, but any image you see of a dinosaur that is not just the fossil on display, that means they had to talk to an artist at some point to draw a picture, make a sculpture, all those different kinds of things. Even when you see them displayed in the museum, articulated, they had to consult with people to build all those apparatus to plug them in together. Scientific illustrators do a lot of work with paleontology. You can do paleobotany. There's so many different things. There's so many different avenues. Depending on how old you are, you might want to start volunteering when museums open back up again, or internships if you're closer into college age, things like that. So it just kind of depends. And in terms of how the dinosaurs went extinct, it's usually a sort of like chain reaction, a series of dominoes things, but that seem to have been kicked off by the big meteor asteroid that crashed into Earth about 66.5 million years ago. That would have changed the environment a lot, changed the sky, all these things, and led to less sort of resources, food, and all those types of things for the dinosaurs to exist. And so slowly over time, they would have gone extinct. It wasn't just a bam, sudden type of thing. All right, what else we got?
Well, BAM sounds really exciting, though. It's very dramatic. And speaking of drama, there's a lot of questions about the artistry of making a puppet, how you bring it to life, how exactly it's made, all the materials, and how old is it?
Well, let's start with how, it's a lot of questions. Let's start with how it was made, all right? So this puppet is a marionette. If you see up here on my screen where I am, you can see I'm holding these two controllers. These are what I'm using to control the puppet. These are made out of wood. Then we have fishing line. Same thing you would use if you were going fishing. That goes all the way down to this puppet. And the puppet itself is a skeleton inside made out of wood and string. And then on the out, mostly, and a few small little pieces for other things. And then all of that covered in fabric. We have a few photos we can show you on that right now. That will show, first off, so the artist who made this, the puppeteer's name was Robin Walsh. She's another puppeteer who lives and works here in Los Angeles, and we work with her a lot. She would have started by talking with paleontologists at the museum, and based on what they told her and the different things that they showed her while she was there, she would have then started with doing a drawing, which we can see here, right? This might have been done in a sketchbook or who knows, but you know, a lot of times when we start working on something like this, we just need to draw out a bunch of different ideas. So she would have started with that, then she would have ended with this one, and she made it. She brought it up to the scale she wanted. Her next step would have been then to make a model of it, a maquette. That's what you can see here. She made that with foam board. Maybe some of you have used foam board for things. I know I have many times for a lot of science projects and other things over the years. She would have cut that out, and you can see that this one, it's just flat, but it still has joints, and she would have used that to figure out how big the controller needed to be so that she could get the movements that she wanted out of it, and just get a sense of how the final product was going to look when it was in space. Now, next we can see that after she's done with that, she would have started to actually sculpt things. So here she's sculpted a version of the head. You can see it's pretty close with this final result, I think. And that would have went inside of this, inside and then covered in fabric. Then she painted it and did a few little details like these teeth. If you can see inside in the video of the puppet, there's these nice little teeth. She would have done that probably out of different types of plastic, out of a mold that she made, which is how we make copies of sculptures, essentially. In terms of how old the puppet is, I believe this puppet now we've had it for 2 years. Yeah. We've been working with it and figuring out what we like and how to get the best movements out of it.
Yeah, and part of the reason the puppet is this size, this is a representation of a very young individual of a sauropodomorphae of Madame Cheese. So the fossils they found of this dinosaur were of a young dinosaur, about 4 or 5 years old. This one that we're seeing here would be a representation of one even younger, maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years old. Maybe to give you some perspective, you see my hand here, nothing up my sleeve. And then here's my hand next to Madame Cheese. So you can see Madame Cheese would be a very large cat or a small dog right now, about that size in terms of that. I hope that answered the questions. There were a lot there. I don't know if I got to all of those or if we both did or not, but.
Well, let's hear another one.
Yeah.
What else
Well, we do have a question from Annette. She wants to know, how do you know where to look for fossils?
Oh, that's a good question. The best answer I can give you personally is, I don't know. I've never gone looking for fossils, but the people going out on excavations and things like that, they have a lot of practice doing that. There's different sort of geological formations where they know to look. It just kind of depends. Oftentimes they're mostly on the surface, and you can tell by different colors and things like that, I'm told. And then there are also other sort of more advanced techniques and technology involved of scanning the rocks with new, gadgets, gizmos, technology, things like that. So I'm sorry I can't give you a more experienced answer, but that might be something we can research more, and maybe you can find out more on your own too.
Right, and then you can email us. We have a question from Charlotte, wants to know, is Madame Cheese a plant eater?
Yes, I didn't mention that. Yes, Madame Cheese, we believe, would have been a plant eater, eating maybe some fern-like plants that you kind of see on display here. The way they tell that is by one, looking at the teeth, and especially with sauropodomorphs as a group of dinosaurs, that's part of one of their defining characteristics, the paleontologists say, is that their teeth are actually shaped somewhat like leaves. That's how they describe them. Yeah, I mean, and that's a good way to tell what any dinosaur eats is to look at its teeth, and to see what it's meant for. Another way you can look another fossil you can look at to see what a dinosaur might have eaten would be to look at something called coprolite. And for those of you who do not know, coprolite is the science term for fossilized poop. Yeah, so sometimes it's just the former fossilized poop that is now pretty much just a rock. It's been replaced with minerals, so it's not squishy, it's not stinky, it doesn't smell, but they can crack that open and they can see if they've got bits of seeds and plants or bits of other dinosaurs and things like that to see if it's more carnivorous or if it's plant eating or meat eating, maybe a little bit of both. Madam Cheese here, we're pretty sure was a plant eater.
Well, Alexis would like to see the puppet eat some more leaves, and she would also like to know, how does the mouth work exactly?
So you want to see Madam Cheese eat more leaves and you want to know how the mouth works. I would recommend, if you can, go into gallery view so you can see the multiple screens, and then Eli is going to talk about how he does what he does.
So first off, let's take a look at this mouth. So I have a controller up here. It's going to make the puppet move a little bit strangely for a minute. But here is my head controller. Hopefully you can see it. I know it's a little dark in here, but this is the head controller. Right here, this one, this is what I use to get the mouth to move. So by moving this bar, the mouth opens and closes. And the way that happens is if you look closely on the screen with the puppet, you'll see that there's these two strings on the nose. You see that the front one is connected to the nose and is holding it up. The one that comes right after it, that's actually going through a hole and down to the lower mouth. And what that means is when I give that more string, by lowering this lever on the control, it lets the mouth open. And when I pull up on it, it closes the mouth. What was the other question?
It was more of a request. They wanted to see Madam Cheese eat more leaves.
Yes. This we can do.
Yeah.
There you go. We have another question from Harshit. He wants to know predators. What predators did Madam Cheese have to deal with?
As far as I know, rather, the main one that I'm aware of is a dinosaur called Cryolophosaurus, which is a theropod dinosaur. That means it stood on two legs. It had some claws. It was a meat eater. Lived also in Antarctica at that time. There were a bunch of, there's a whole landscape, a whole ecosystem and environment around where Madam Cheese would have lived. So there would have been other sauropodomorphs, Sauropodomorph A, Madam Cheese. There would have been a Sauropodomorph B, another dinosaur they called Glacialosaurus. There would have been the flying ones, the pterosaurs, things like that. In the waters, there would have been the marine reptiles that lived alongside the dinosaurs. So yeah, a whole mess of different dinosaurs for sure. And some of the predators, or one of the predators, would have been Cryolophosaurus.
Oh, wow. And when exactly was Sauropodomorph A discovered, and how long does it take to find a name?
I mean, it just depends in terms of on how long it takes to form a name. They have to do a lot of comparisons and things like that. I'm not super well informed about that whole process. But in terms of finding Sauropodomorph A's fossils and excavating them, sometimes that can take, up to 10 years to excavate the fossils from Antarctica, bring them back to the museum, clean them up, look at them, study them, all those types of things. So it really just depends on the fossil and where they are finding them, what part of the world, what type of rocks they're in, and whatnot. So it's hard for me to give you an exact time, but it's a long time and there's a lot of people involved.
So yeah. Ricky is curious, why are bones the only thing left behind, and coprolite, the poop, and why are they buried in the rocks?
Why are they buried in the rocks? Why is it only the bones and the poop? Okay, these are good questions. Trying to think, searching through the archives of my brain for a good answer for you. So not everything that's ever lived on Earth is going to become a fossil. Only certain things will get fossilized. This might be a good time to actually define what a fossil is. Bones are a great example of a fossil, but as I said before, it's not just bones. We have coprolite, which is dino poop. There can be plants, There can be footprints, things like that, or sometimes a skin imprint fossil if we're very lucky. So to me, a fossil was defined to me when I started working at the museum as any evidence of prehistoric life. So that's why it's not just bones. But for things to fossilize, it usually has to be covered over very quickly in some way, maybe sort of like a landslide or a mudslide or ash from a volcano, things like that, so that it's more preserved right there. When an animal or something else just dies out in the open, it doesn't stick around. It decomposes a lot before it gets a chance to fossilize. Now, in terms of bones, when those are left over, bones and let's say coprolite and all these things, what's happening is that they've been mineralized. So over the course of time, the bones that were there were under a lot of pressure, and slowly those bones were actually replaced with minerals. So now they're really rocks that are in the shape of the bones that were there. And it still leaves a lot of evidence of what that living creature or plant or thing might have been like. Things can be fossilized by being mineralized in rock. They can be fossilized with being trapped in amber, like you might recognize from the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies, things like that. Like I said, footprints, things like that as well too. I don't remember all those questions. I just talked a lot, and I hope that helped.
Oh, you answered those questions. There is
Okay.
one. Levy was curious how you do learn all of these facts and what you do. How do you learn what you do?
We study a lot. We get to talk directly to the scientists. We get to read books. We get to take trainings because they want us to be able to talk to you about what the scientists are doing. And, you know, part of why we do what we do is to take that excitement that so many of us have for dinosaurs and hopefully harness that so that you can learn more on your own and ask more questions and know that like this is something that is for you, no matter who you are. Whatever you like about it, you can be a part of it. You can learn more, whether it's at the museum or on your own, just to investigate more and all those types of things. Or if you just want to have fun and play with puppets that are dinosaurs because they're cool, that's cool too.
Well, we've got time for one more, and it's a question about what we do at the museum and a little bit more about puppetry and what we have to offer.
Yeah,
And
we've
then
got
I'll
a bunch
let
of
you-
slides
then I'll
about
let
what
you
we
take
normally
off.
do when we're not quarantining at home. We've got lots of different puppets. We have very big puppets. This is a picture of a Triceratops puppet. It would be one that it's called a full suit puppet. I would crawl all the way inside this puppet and bring it to life. That is life size for what we think about a 6-year-old, 5 or 6-year-old Triceratops might have been like. We can go to the next slide. We've got some other marionettes. That's myself and Eli with some squirrel marionettes, also made by the same puppeteer, puppet constructionist. I just made that word up. It's not a real word. These are squirrels. We've got butterfly costumes that are on stilts. We use that for our Nature Fest and Bug Fest. What else we got? What other pictures? I forget. Oh, we do a lot of shadow puppetry things. So we'll make our own shadow puppet shows, but also Eli and a lot of the other team members have run workshops with students like yourselves to make your own shadow shows and explore different themes about that. And this is also a picture of our T-Rex puppet, also about the size of a 5 or 6-year-old T-Rex. You might notice it's a little fluffy. It's to reflect that many dinosaurs like T-Rex may have been covered in feathers, as it turns out. And it's also to show that when we have events at the museum, whether it's weddings or parties or things like that, sometimes we just let the dinosaurs run loose because grown-ups and kids and everyone likes dinosaurs for the most part. And so we have fun doing that. Yeah.
Well, Isabella has made a comment that she thinks that this looks like a really cool place for a field trip, and we couldn't agree more. And we are so glad that everybody joined us today. So John, I'll let you tell everybody how to get in touch with us and say goodbye.
Yeah, so if you are inspired by anything that you saw here today, if you're drawing pictures or, I don't know, you wrote a poem or you want to make something yourself, please do. We actually have a DIY shadow puppet project that's on our website. And I think someone's going to pop that into the chat too. So if maybe you or your teacher wants to email us and show us what you've done, what you were inspired, or just any sort of reactions, feedback about what you liked, what you'd like to see more of, things like that, please let us know. We love that. It's super fun to see what you're up to. You can tag us on the social medias as it is, if you wish as well. And that's all we really have for you with this presentation. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thanks for joining us for this virtual field trip. I'm glad you could be here in some way, and we look forward to seeing you back at the museum when it's safe to do so. Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone.